Economics often sounds abstract, but it shows up in business decisions every day. This section helps us separate two big lenses, microeconomics and macroeconomics, and then connects them to markets and political economy. We will look at how these ideas shape prices, competition, policy effects, and the environment every business works inside. First, let us distinguish between micro and macroeconomics. Microeconomics looks at individual decision makers, which includes households and firms in specific markets, not just single people. It asks questions like how a consumer chooses what to buy, how a firm sets price, or what happens to the market when a new competitor enters. Macroeconomics zooms out to the whole economy and looks at output, inflation, unemployment, growth, and policy that affects the larger system. A useful myth to clear up is this: government involvement does not automatically make something macroeconomics. For example, a city's zoning restriction on new retail development is a government policy, but its main effect is on a specific real estate market. So it is a microeconomic policy. By contrast, when the Federal Reserve raises interest rates, the effect runs through borrowing, investment, and output across the economy. So that is a macroeconomic policy. The real determinant of a type of policy is identifying where its primary impact lands. Markets exist because people, firms, and even countries are better at producing some things than others, so exchange is often easier than doing everything alone. Specialization increases output, and Adam Smith identified why. Repetition improves skill, staying focused avoids switching friction, and expertise supports innovation. Voluntary exchange completes the picture, because a trade only happens when both sides believe they are better off, or at least not worse off, at that moment. That idea matters, because it explains how markets are built on decisions, incentives, and perceived value. And this is exactly what makes markets work, if left unhindered by external constraints. Economics in general cannot operate separately from politics, because together they shape the business environment. In a market economy, decisions are decentralized, prices guide production and consumption, property rights are protected, and competition rewards innovation. In a centrally planned economy, the state sets production targets and administers prices, which can misallocate resources and weaken pressure to improve quality or reduce cost. For any business, this changes the rules of engagement, including pricing power, access to resources, regulatory exposure, and competitive pressure. This is particularly important in a globalizing world where one needs to exist within different types of economies for their product or resource markets. Better economic thinking starts with better classification. You need to know whether you are dealing with individual market behavior or economy-wide forces, because that changes which variables matter and which policies affect your decisions. It also helps to remember that markets depend on specialization and voluntary exchange, while political structures shape how freely those forces can work. The point is not to know more theory for its own sake, but to see the business meaning behind every decision and every cost. Get your copy of Invisible Hand, Visible Profit: The Simple Science Behind Smart Decisions as an ebook, paperback, or audiobook on Amazon, Audible, Apple Books, Google Play, Spotify, and other platforms.